tech space, working with entrepreneurs in the tech space, there's a lot of standard agreements. There's a lot of ways to, just the relationships that are built in Silicon Valley. There's a very standard way of doing it. In cannabis, not so much. You're talking about a black market that's transitioning to mainstream, and at a very there's a lot of standard agreements. So there's a lot of interesting relationships. The legislation is complicated, so we just work really hard to make sure that everyone understands what's going on.
I've seen some of your videos where you talked about going beyond, just medical and getting high. What are some of those things? Because I had a glance on your site and I saw companies like Grow Room, a charitable giving platform, that there was a cannabis in his hands, and then something with a banana-infused smoothie. So creative stuff, but what is going beyond medical for this? What the companies are going to offer? Sure.
So it's a very dynamic plan. If you look at the structure of the plant itself, you're talking about hundreds of compounds in the plant that all have different effects. An experience that is unique to each user.
I definitely get the value of specialization with something that's this complicated in every sense of the plant and building a business. But do you worry that this is just too narrow of a market? I think if Y Combinator was hearing you say you're the Y Combinator pot, they'd be like, no, the point is we don't go narrow.
I never actually said
that. Well, when they hear Scott say that, the point is that they can be mattress companies, they can be SaaS when they get hot, they can be mobile, they can be chatbots, they can be whatever is exciting entrepreneurs. I guess my question is, what motivates you? Because I think this is an exciting challenge. It'd be hard to convince me that this is the best place to make money in the next 5 to 2 years.
Yeah, you're not going to see a Y Combinator pumping out hundreds of companies every cohort. We're very stuck to working with 10 companies. We find a lot of value of us, the founders, being involved with each company.
Is now called.
Sounds good. So my background started in cryptocurrency. Well, actually, I started a cannabis delivery service in 2011 when I first moved out here to California. It's one of my passions. I really love the industry. I think it's great, and part of the reason why I ended up here at Gateway and had an amazing experience. Worked on that for a couple years and just was following cryptocurrency. Always interested in decentralized technology, watching BitTorrent from my college years, and watching BitTorrent become this really big thing, 80% of all internet traffic, and became kind of obsessed with it. And
just to interrupt, Bram is now an advisor of yours too, right?
Yeah, it's really
Bram
a dream
the founder of BitTorrent. Right?
Yeah, it's a dream come true. He's a really awesome guy, very sharp, very smart, one of the smartest people I know, and it was really cool to connect with him, and he's been very helpful with us and helping us build the company. But Bram's special skill is really solving incredibly complex problems. His brain is like wired to do that, and he's super smart. So it's just an honor to have him.
I derailed you. Continue with your origin story. Sorry about that.
So so basically, so I started watching cryptocurrency. I was watching it grow, and Trent Reznor comes onto this BitTorrent site called What.cd in 2009 and says, you know, I would love to release an album on this. I basically am independently do all my own recordings in my own studio. I'd love to release my albums on What.cd. And we all started talking about what way we could get his music out there and get him to get paid for it. We looked at PayPal, we looked at different options, and somebody started talking about Bitcoin. And that began my Bitcoin journey. And I became more and more obsessed. Everybody I think that gets into cryptocurrency starts with like, oh, this is interesting. And 3 years later, they've got a company and they're at every meetup and they're obsessed. I feel like that's kind of the way it goes. Cannabis has a lot of similarities in that way.
Sure.
Yeah, just 2013 to 2016, kind of dabbling in different crypto startups, and then 2015 I kind of went full circle and came back and started working on Trees, which was the cannabis drone company, and also getting some experience working on some different payment startups in between, and realizing how hard it is in general for high-risk industries, but cash, any business that's cash only, it's really hard. It's hard to operate. Credit cards are a pain, chargebacks. All this stuff is, as far as we've come, you know, with Stripe and Square and PayPal and everything, it's still really hard to use. And crypto as a whole is super interesting. If you've been involved since the beginning, you probably made some money, you're excited, but if you use the software, you know, as a crypto person, you just want to share it with everyone, but that process of sharing is usually so bad that your friends and family walk away and they're like, oh, that Marshall guy, he's really nuts. Like, he's going to try to push his crypto religion on you. So we need better software, and ultimately it is really cool. We want everyone to have that experience where, you know, you basically get this internet money. It can cross borders. It can move instantaneously anywhere around the world, and you can be your own bank. But people haven't really realized what that is yet until you have like something to kind of bring you there in an easy, understandable way.
So I think we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but two comments. The main one is I use metal as an example of, you know, we always, you know, obviously Gateway has its focus of the cannabis industry, but we always, metal is one of the companies, not the only one, but one of the companies that we use as an example of, to our investors, if we care, once the company's in the program, we care about the success of the company, not what industry they're in. And you're an example of like a complete morph of like, oh, he's no longer in that industry. Yeah. But super exciting. And we've been, when, you know, you've gotten me back into crypto. I was a cryptographer for 10 years, as you know, left right about the wrong time if I wanted to make money in cryptocurrency. And you've gotten me back into it, and it's really fascinating. And you're right. I feel like in 3 years, I'm gonna, maybe not my own company, but I am drinking the Kool-Aid more and more every day. So
yeah, I see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yes.
I love it.
Well, on top of that, it's you know, it's oftentimes when you're building a company, you start to realize what the really key value of it is, and I think this is what happened when you know, you were building Trees. It was a very competitive market. There was a lot of moving pieces. And it turns out that the one piece that was the most critical piece was something that you were actually versed in already. So it's like, why not just focus that and solve that for the world instead of, you know, building a cannabis company? Yeah. And that's all I want to say about cannabis. Like, we're super proud of where you've come, and like, regardless if you're addressing cannabis or how people pay for things, like, that's super awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
You kind of built us up with the motivation. I felt the motivation for metal like coming to life as you were talking about ease of access and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe we should step back for just a second, though, Ben, because I feel like when you're in the cryptocurrency world, you can get excited and talk about a lot of this stuff, but I think a lot of people have no idea what the fuck you're talking about right now. So
tone it down a little bit, take a step back.
No, well, let's just step back.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about most of the time anyway. So
well, but you know, what the hell is cryptocurrency and what is Bitcoin? And you know, I know that could be a 2-hour lecture, but
sure,
just give people kind of a quick layman's description of what it is you're talking about.
Yeah. So metal cryptocurrency. What metal is and what cryptocurrency is it's the money of the future. And so basically, traditionally we have cash, right? So if I give you $20 cash, Carter. Now let's say I change my mind. I don't like the way this transaction went down, and this bicycle you sold me doesn't really actually work. The tires are square, and so I want my money back. If I want to get my money back from you after this cash transaction, I'm gonna have to ask you politely for the 20 back. I can't. There's nowhere I can charge back, or I can't. And that's the old system, the way that money works currently. So on your credit card, on your debit card, you've got 16 digits. You got your expiration, your secret code on the back, and you go around town. You give it to everybody. You just keep swiping it and swiping, and you hope. It's like giving the keys to your bank account, or more or less giving everybody your email password and saying, I'm gonna send you an email. Here's my password. Just check in my sent box and make sure that I sent it when I said I sent it. Do not send any messages on my behalf. And that's the way that we currently work with when it comes to credit, debit, that kind of thing. And cryptocurrency is like cash on the internet. So if I give Carter a metal, if I PayPal you or if I send you a payment, I can charge back. Right, or I can call American Express and say the goods were not delivered as described. But if I send you a metal, it's all sales are final. So it's really cool because cryptocurrency allows for cash transactions to happen over the internet, to happen over
And the settlement is a lot faster than if you're a merchant taking credit cards, it takes several days to get your money.
Yes.
If you're accepting metal, you get your money.
You're ready to go.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And another just differentiator about crypto generally, I think that people don't think about it, and maybe you can talk about a little bit more is, right now we have a monetary system based on trust of a few trusted parties who are actually not trustworthy at all, but they're the trusted parties.
Yeah.
Right. You've got the Federal Reserve and a few big banks, and basically all the transactions that you have to do go through this antiquated banking system controlled by very few people.
Right.
Right. And we already know that there's something fishy because when they fail, they get bailed out. Right. So there's some kind of, there's clearly some cronyism happening.
Yeah.
And it makes it really difficult to do micropayments or to do anything that they don't like.
Right.
Because they control it and they can throw processing fees and other delays and crap on top of it. With cryptocurrency, there is no trusted third party.
That's exactly right.
It's all cryptographically trusted. It's trusted. You're basically trusting the majority of the people using it to be someone honest, kind of.
Right.
Actually, you're not even trusting them to be honest. You're trusting that the majority of the people aren't actively and competently breaking it.
Right.
Right. Which is a pretty easy thing to trust. Right.
We use greed, one of the most powerful tools in the world, to secure the network.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Pretty brilliant, because it's basically like saying there's free money out here. If you want to take it, you have to mine new blocks, or you have to contribute something to the network, and that's what powers the network. And when you open that up to the world, you have people from all over the world trying to contribute, and it creates the most robust network that we've ever seen, which is the blockchain.
Yeah.
It's some of the best security researchers in the world. A lot of times we'll start off and say, "Oh, this is a fraud." This will get hacked, and then you watch them become crypto people, because they really obsess over trying to break it, and then think, "Wait, wow, I want to contribute to this supposedly unbreakable thing." Nothing's unbreakable, by the way. So everything can be broken at some point, sooner or later, by someone out there. But it is really exciting because it's one of the most amazing technological cryptographic
So this is super interesting also because unlike banks, I mean, you think of banks and governments as having unlimited resources and therefore being able to do amazing things quickly, but that's not true. They can do somewhat impressive things over a long period of time, but never amazing things and never quickly.
Yeah.
And I worked for the DoD. So that's definitely true, right? But with cryptocurrency, you actually have seen this in the problems have actually revealed the power of it in sometimes. So while like Bitcoin, for example, wasn't broken, you did have, I think recently you had a piece of software that was attacked.
Right.
And
not metal.
it wasn't metal, right? As someone was attacking it, literally I think it was within a couple hours, the community noticed the attack, had a counterattack,
Yes.
Basically, pulled all the. They basically stole it before the bad guy could steal it and gave it back to the right people.
Yeah.
And it happened so quickly that like there's no way in hell if a bank was being attacked that would happen and they would save people's money that quickly. But the community just came together almost instantaneously.
Yes.
And it was amazing to watch.
Right. And in fact, the bank actually will reserve some cryptocurrency in the event that they get attacked. That's a risk mitigation tool.
Oh, really?
To help pay for, to pay your way out. And there's no easy way to pay your way out except for in this particular case. So you do see FIs accumulating cryptocurrency. Why? Because that's a good risk mitigation tool for ransomware and that kind of thing. But I know you're talking about the parody attack.
I don't want to get into details with people, but like that was it was just really cool to watch the community do that, right? I was going to talk about banks later, but we've been talking about them already, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Jamie Dimon the other day.
Carter's very excited.
Yeah, what a dick. After
No, it's great. These are great prices.
No.
These are
after saying that his daughter's buying Bitcoin, goes publicly and like starts to trash Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Which a lot of Bitcoiners are taking as a sign that
that JP Morgan coin is
the banks are afraid of us, so therefore we must be doing something right.
Right.
So there's two things, right? So one is, while he's saying this, you were mentioning in San Francisco, was it?
Yeah.
At the JP Morgan Chase office, there's a blockchain group meeting.
There was a meetup. There was a group. There was a blockchain meetup while this was going on. Yeah.
So that's happening, and you got to think, okay, he's trying to depress the price so he can do what? Buy it.
Yeah, I bet he was buying like crazy yesterday.
But third, as you mentioned, they're working on their own cryptocurrency. They don't like competition.
Of course.
Right? It's really amazing. One of the things that I love to watch is I love to watch corrupt cronies in power frantically scream at people and try and like grasp at straws because they know like it's sifting they're tightening their grip. What's the Star Wars line?
I don't know.
The more you tighten your grip, the more star systems will slip through your fingers. It's like that's what they're doing, and it's so obvious and it's fun to watch.
Yeah,
that's my rant.
That's right.
Comment.
Yeah. So you pretty much summed it up. It's funny to watch, and we're gonna see this throughout the years because it's sort of like Blockbuster. Blockbuster, we used to all go to the store and rent videos, but then that went away, right? And we got DVDs,
right?
And thanks to you. And,
I forgot about that.
And and things evolve. Technology always evolves, right? And so banking is evolving. And so in the future, you won't go to you're not going to go to the bank. You're just going to do everything on your phone. The teller, everything's going to come up, everything's going to be digital, and your cash is going to be digital. And JP Morgan, I think, is very excited about blockchain. And I think we should never really turn on our backs on where we came from and we should always be looking at the original stuff, to improve on it and not say, oh no, this is nothing. No, this is where we started, and we should be looking at the origins of crypto, but also Bitcoin and Ethereum and all the other coins and building on top of these. But, it is definitely a sign that maybe this is a threat. But I think he's smarter than that. I think, there's good buy opportunities when you're an influential person and you say, oh, Bitcoin, it's just going to explode. Well, what's the saying? Buy when there's blood in the streets. Buy when everybody's screaming. It's a great time to buy if you believe. Because everybody's selling.
And we know they do that.
Yeah,
right?
of course. Okay. This is maybe normal practices at JP Morgan. So there's, just moving into the crypto realm.
So what makes metal different? I mean, there is...
can we pause?
Yeah, sure. I'm excited.
I know. Putting my listener cap on. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has gone through this massive evolution. It's actually been around for a lot longer than most people think. Mm-hmm. What is the current status? How big is it? Like, how much money is out there? Yeah. Like, what Carter kind of mentioned the other day, like, metal's almost $1 billion. And I'm like, no one knows what the hell that means. How big is Bitcoin? How much money is out there? How many people are actually transacting in cryptocurrency? And, like, how much further do we have to go? And then we can get to metal, I think.
No, that's good. You're calming me down appropriately then.
Bitcoin is over $100 billion, or cryptocurrency is over $100 billion market cap. Before this recent crash, it was around $140 billion. Bitcoin, I think, over 70 billion, although it did kind of, maybe it's, I think, 50 or 60 now after this little crash. But, pretty soon we'll see cryptocurrency over $1 trillion market cap, the T word. That's amazing. Wow. You know, I remember only 2 years ago, we were just crossing $1 billion market cap for all cryptocurrencies, and now we're over 100.
In 2 years.
Yeah, something, yeah, about 2 years, yeah. I remember Ethereum being, you know, a couple dollars, the crowd sale in 2014, and just everything, watching this whole space grow so rapidly, but we still have so far to go. It's been 8 years since the introduction of Bitcoin. Ethereum appeared on the scene 3 years ago, and there's a lot more interesting stuff coming. It's believed that we're somewhere between 7 and 10 million users, but there are apps in the App Store, like games, like Catch a Fish game that's like over 10 million users that nobody even really knows about. So crypto is like this tiny little dot on the map. It's really nothing. So if Jamie Dimon did want to talk trash and be authentic and be truthful, he could have just said, they don't have any users. And he'd be right. We don't have a lot of users. And that's going to change. It's just that the floodgates haven't opened yet. No one's had a real reason. Why should I, as a normal person, pay money to get into money? That doesn't make any sense. I mean, we're used to paying fees to send money, but why should I buy this alternative money? And really, it's only at this point kind of people making investments. But in the future, everything you do is going to be tied into this. All the brands you use, places you shop, you're going to be getting, you know, coins back, and you're going to be interacting with crypto in so many ways. It's hard to imagine your fridge is going to be using crypto to communicate with other devices in your house and other people's devices when they walk in. And it's hard to imagine where all of this is going, but it's, you know, crypto ultimately, it's one of the things I like to think about it too, and this is going to go kind of sci-fi, but it's the currency of machines, right?
Absolutely. Ethereum is a great example.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what the Ethereum dream is, to create the decentralized autonomous organization. They tried once, but
so these platforms have very bold kind of mission statements
that absolutely
the layman doesn't quite understand.
Right.
But I believe that you are trying to change that with Metal, and Metal might be one of those triggers for that floodgate to open.
We think so. Yeah.
Can you please explain what Metal is?
Yes. So so Metal is basically like the future PayPal. In the past, we used to make a phone call, and there was all kinds of long distance charges and all these little charges, and we watched as all that went away. Why did that go away? Did it cost the phone company more to connect you, like from 3,000 miles away? No. It's just that there wasn't really any other alternative option, so there's kind of like a monopoly on the system, and that's where we're at with money right now. There's kind of a monopoly on the system. Why did PayPal buy Venmo, and why did it grow so fast? Because it was free to use the automated clearinghouse, to use ACH, and it was connected to text message, and that was really hot. And so now we're in a new phase where instead of you paying to make the transaction, Metal's going to pay you. And that's like a mind-blowing concept, because it's like, well, how do you make money? I don't get it. Like, how does this system work? So basically, Metal in a nutshell is a payments platform where you're getting rewarded to make payments. Metal is looking at the flow of funds, so Marshall to Carter, Carter to Ben, and back to Marshall. That whole process, we're mirroring the flow of funds with cryptocurrency. So you're going to get to participate and not have to understand all of this stuff. In the past, you had to get involved with mining, or you had to pay a fee to buy, or you had to learn how to use all this software. Well, imagine a really simple piece of software, opening it up. It's just like opening Snapchat or Facebook or PayPal or any of these apps. It's very simple. You know how to use it, and when you start paying, you get 5% back roughly on everything you do, up to $1,000 a month. I mean, that's mind-blowing for a business to take in up to $5,000 a month and cover their rent. And you know, when we pitch to businesses and say, okay, you can get up to $5,000 a month, or 5% of all your transactions up to $5,000 a month you can earn, they say, wow, that's genius. So that's a great one-off that you would sign me up for. You must have worked that out with like your payment processors and the banks, and everybody chips in, and you're burning your equity to do this. No, that's forever until it runs out. That's for the next couple of years.
Right.
And that is what crypto wants. We want all of you guys to come in and participate. Anybody watching this show, just everybody to be a part.
So I want to break this down a little bit. So from your perspective, the thing that Metal's trying to accomplish with this, so just so that people understand why the hell you would do this, right? From Metal's perspective, one of the key components of a crypto platform is distribution. You want as
That's
many
right.
people using many people holding metal as possible.
Yes.
And it's very hard to get distribution.
That's right.
So it's surprisingly hard. I mean, people think it's easy, but it's actually very, very hard to get distribution wide. And you've seen a lot of ICOs like try and get vilified and fail because 3 people bought all the coin or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you put like there's 2 other entities in this conversation. Let's think about it from their perspective. The merchant.
Right.
I put my merchant hat on. What are the reasons that I would want to use metal? One of them is I get some metal back. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Why else would I bother to use metal?
So a lot of reasons. A major reason is that we have the fiat to crypto element. So traditionally, if you're a cash business, and that's a huge portion of the restaurant and bar industry and food industry in general, is go to any food park across the United States, and everybody wants to accept cash. Yeah, they've got Square, but because it's like a necessary
let me
evil.
plug it in really
Yeah,
quick.
yeah. Oh, let me plug it in. Oh, discount with cash.
Right,
You pay with cash, you might get a free Coke. You might get,
Yep.
And that's so valuable to businesses to be able to settle instantly and have that. And so we allow cash businesses to accept credit and debit and bank payments and settle into digital cash
Instantly
into cryptocurrency
without paying fees, but with getting money in.
That's right. I was in New York and I was standing in a line late at night at a halal guy's, and it's just a line down the street. And then next door at the ATM is a line out the ATM, right? And you have all these people going to the ATM and then get in line and hand cash, and they have to make change. And I told the manager, hey, wouldn't it be great if everybody just come up and you just cut out that line over there? And a lot of people are probably getting, paying an extra $2.50 to buy the falafel or whatever, because they're not maybe Bank of America, they're Chase or someone else. Wouldn't it be great if you could just do all sales final with a mobile tap to pay? And he said, I would think that you are lying to me. So that's really cool, and that's very exciting, and that's something that we do. So if you're a merchant and you want to be cash only and accept credit and debit and just do the mobile thing, never have to make change anymore, never have to make sure the drawer zeroes out and have to deal with all this, and you can still pay all your employees in digital cash, just tap. In fact, it's much easier.
Don't have to get Visa's permission to do any processing.
Yeah,
So I'm going to use
skip right over the processor. Yeah.
I'm going to use this opportunity to answer one of the questions that have come in. Thank you, Princessa, for dropping this off. As an online merchant, how do I set a product's price using a highly volatile, system to accept cash essentially?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you don't have to. When you use our system, 2 things. One, if you're using the system and you don't want to settle into crypto and you just want to just accept like a normal payment bank to bank, so Metal gives you a real bank account as well, FDIC insured. That's the checking account, the routing number.
How many crypto companies go through that process of getting FDIC insured and providing that kind of security? Sorry, I'm asking a question within a question.
So the major exchanges do. All the major the good ones, the ones that are a lot that exist in the U.S. and don't have to shut down, do. But I'm not aware of any crypto companies that offer this to anybody, that offer you a real bank account and give you the checking account, the routing number, and also integrate your crypto piece. That's never been done before. I don't know anybody that does that. To answer the question earlier, if you're accepting a bank-to-bank payment, that's one thing. But if you have crypto, let's say you invoiced for crypto, you can settle immediately. You can set it in your option to basically just settle immediately. So if the price is what you like, it instantly liquidates, right? And so you can instantly liquidate it into your bank account. And also there are synthetic dollar instruments. There's Tether, which is pretty well known on a lot of exchanges where you can go $1 to $1. And there's a lot of cool stuff coming up in the near future. Metal's also looking at kind of potentially building our own kind of flat coin. And so there's all kinds of options. You could stay in crypto and Tether or other synthetic dollar instruments. You can instantly cash out. I recommend.
But you can set your price in fiat, take money in metal.
Yeah.
And cash back to fiat immediately. So it's not really
exactly
to get to mitigate the volatility. Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And I say with crypto, like if you see a price you like, take it. So if you got the price that you like, just take it. And if you want to let it roll and you want to let it ride, that's awesome. And the other cool part about metal is that you can set up to basically take fiat as well. And if you want to just start by dipping your toe into the crypto piece, just sign up with metal and just be a merchant. And you don't have to do the invoice for crypto part. You can just accept regular payments and you're going to get the crypto anyways.
You still get metal as your reward.
Yeah,
right?
and you're not paying for it, and you get to just pay your rent with it and see how it goes. And so just jump in without having to have that actual cost of jumping in.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, just shameless plug. So now let's put the user hat on, right? So I'm the guy in line at the ATM to go to Halal Guys.
Yeah.
How does metal work for me, and why do I want to add another app on my phone, for example? I've got Venmo and PayPal, and I've got my cash, and I've got my cards. Like, why am I adding Apple Pay?
Yeah.
Why am I adding metal?
Do any of them pay you $1,000 a month?
No, they don't.
Oh, okay. Well, that would be a good reason. I think that there's no better motivator when it comes to signing up for something or doing something on the internet than money. Money is the ultimate thing that, unfortunately for a lot of us, it's kind of like we feel like a slave to money, right? Yeah. Like we get our paycheck, and anybody that's struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, you feel like you're a slave to money in a lot of ways. And I think that it's really cool and exciting to start to be able to have something that represents you, right? The more you talk about it, the more people believe. Like, money is really based on belief. And so what makes money valuable is we all believe that the cash in our pocket will be accepted, and everybody will accept it. And one of the reasons why it's accepted is because America is a huge country, and I mean also the euro, that's accepted everywhere. It's kind of recognized. It's based on belief. So if we believe in ourselves, what's the value? What is the value of like an unchecked something that doesn't have to be restricted but can grow exponentially and is also allowed to go up and down? I think that people are ready for that, but I think that it's just you don't want all of your savings in it initially. You want to slowly get in, and then as the network grows, it's amazing because it's moving from this what we kind of known for thousands of years as a merchant money system, right? We lived as serfs on the land. We hope the king doesn't let us die. Yeah. And then we go to the market and we start trading and buying things in the market. We get our market tokens, right? And then eventually those market tokens start interacting with other serfs, and now we've got currency, and it's owned by the government, owned by the king, and then eventually by the country. And this is the next evolution, is to say the money is owned by the people.
So I want to just touch on a little bit, because I think sometimes when you say like it's about belief, it could scare people away, because it sounds a little bit mystical, right? So let's just walk through like a super brief kind of history of the money, which you just touched on, but like in those early merchant worlds, the money was usually gold or silver. It was a metal coin, right?
Right.
And that coin had some intrinsic value. You could take it home and do something with it. But intrinsic value, I'm putting kind of in quotes, because if you're a farmer and you need to buy more seed so that you can grow more corn and feed your family or buy clothes or fix a fence, gold isn't particularly useful to you, right? No. Like, what are you going to do? Like, build a statue, and that's not going to feed your family, right? So jewelry doesn't feed your family.
Right.
So it had kind of intrinsic value, sort of.
Yeah.
But then, like, Rome is a great example where they started just like throwing other allies in there and deflating or inflating their currency, right? And ruining the value of their currency. And eventually, to skip over a whole bunch of stuff, we eventually got off the gold standard in the U.S. and now we have what's you're using the word fiat, which I think a lot of people outside the crypto world aren't used to hearing.
Yes.
Right. So when you say fiat, you mean a Federal Reserve note, right? You mean the what we call colloquially a dollar.
Yes.
But it's not backed by gold. It used to be. You used to be able to take it to the federal government and say, give me my gold or silver, and they would give you the amount. But now it's just, the reason it's called fiat is it has value by fiat, by dictate.
Yes.
It's just, this is what it's worth.
Right.
And the only reason it's actually worth that is because the person who dictates it has enough clout to kind of enforce that in some way. Like, well, we've got a big army.
Through fear.
This is worth $1. Right? Right? So, the kind of, it's not just belief, it's the fact that everyone is willing to exchange the the output, their productive output, in exchange for that thing.
Right.
Right. And so you're starting to see in cryptocurrency already people exchanging their productive output for cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And so that's what gives it value. It's the fact that I'm willing to work hard for a while, take some of that and buy cryptocurrency with it. And other people are willing to let me buy things with the cryptocurrency.
That's right.
You can, the first transaction I think was a Domino's pizza where someone bought pizza.
An $80 million pizza. Actually,
$80 million
it's
pizza,
significantly more expensive now.
Yeah, no, that's true. It's probably like $1 billion pizza.
It's a $250 million pizza now.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So I just kind of, I think it's hard for people to kind of understand when there's a lot of jargon. There's fiat and there's it's about belief.
Yeah.
It's not about mystical belief. It's about the fact that other people actually are transacting this and using this.
That's right. Yeah.
And there are places now that take cryptocurrency online. Do you know some of them that do now?
Yeah, there's a lot of I've used Cheap Air in the past to buy plane tickets with Bitcoin.
I think Overstock takes
Overstock.com takes Bitcoin. There are merchants that accept it. One of the hard parts is that we started with Bitcoin, so you have merchants that accept Bitcoin, but they as the price of Bitcoin has risen, kind of what we've realized as a community, we've kind of all come to the realization together. Some knew it beforehand, and some figured out later. You really want to hoard it. There's 21 million. You want to hoard it, and this is part of the problem of proof of work, in my opinion. And proof of work is the way that we secure the Bitcoin blockchain, and I'll get into that in a second. But you want to hoard it, and you have that moment where in the beginning, like I had too many Bitcoins early on, so many that I wish I had known if I had known.
You still had too many Bitcoins.
Yeah, that would be great if I had the early Bitcoins. But we were on Bitcoin Talk, and P2P Foundation is where it started, and then Bitcoin Talk in 2010. And we're trading, Bitcoins for $250 million pizzas, or 500.
Well, at the time, they were, just to be clear, it was. The value of Bitcoin was so low that it was,
there was no value. There was no value.
Right.
So it was basically I think that's worth around, a penny, two pennies. Okay, if a pizza costs $30, I'm going to charge you $60. So I'm going to charge you 4 cents a Bitcoin or something like that, right? And it's, okay, well, what's this imaginary play money worth? It's worth whatever. People in the beginning just want to prove that you could do it. So we're buying alpaca socks. We're buying pizzas. We're buying anything anybody on Bitcoin Talk will come on to shill to sell us. We'll buy it because we just want to be able to prove that we bought something. It could be anything.
Yeah.
And now we're in the future, and now you can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. Now you can buy all kinds of stuff. And that's one of the cool parts about Metal is that you will be able to have that interaction. There's some other startups that have come across and said, in 2014, I remember 3 years ago, it was just the biggest idea that we could possibly that people could possibly think of was a debit card that will spend Bitcoin. And if we do that, then the floodgates will open. But what ended up happening was you realized the floodgates didn't really open. Wait a second, these people don't actually want to spend all their Bitcoin. And that's the realization is, from going from a penny to, $10 or to $2 to $30 to $1,000, $4,000. You start to realize you want to hoard it, you want to conserve it. It's not really like cash where every day you wake up and it's just going to be $1 and it always buys the same
But it may
amount.
stabilize someday, right?
It may, yeah.
Maybe not. I don't know.
We don't really know. I would say that if things keep moving in the direction that they're moving, it probably will accumulate more value and people will accumulate larger amounts. And the idea with Bitcoin in the beginning was for the largest amount of coin to fall into the smallest amount of hands. So the traditional money system, like what we have, is you hear about the 1%. 1% of all the world's wealth is, or 99% of the world's wealth is in 1%, and then the other 99% has this sliding gradient of what's left. So the idea of Bitcoin was there were 21 million Bitcoins, 7 billion people in 2009 when it was created. Now we're at 7.55 or something, so we've gone up. But we could have 30,000 Satoshi or 0.003 Bitcoin for every person in the world. Everybody could have a piece of it. And that if Bitcoin were to replace all of the financial transactions, we were to replace all financial movement, that would be $30 trillion of Bitcoin. $80 billion for everybody in the world.
Okay.
And it's sort of like
what is that amount? What's the Bitcoin price at that?
30 trillion.
Wait, for one Bitcoin?
Yeah. And that would replace times 21 million to
for one
replace all
Bitcoin?
money in the world, right?
That's a lot.
Yeah, and so it gives you kind of like a concept of like what money is. I mean, these are rough numbers, you know. Basically, it's hard to get an exact number, but kind of rough calculations. And those are those numbers. That's where those numbers came from.
Right.
And the minute we started proof of work mining, which is basically in order to create the new coins, we had to basically run the software, and we had to basically guess at random numbers. So in the beginning, it's people just running on computers. You could mine on any computer, CPU mine, and you're guessing these numbers. And the hashing power is not very fast because we're just running normal computers. But then we start upgrading. Eventually, we get to these highly specialized chips called ASIC chips, or application-specific integrated circuit. And what that is a special computer chip that can crunch numbers really fast. And what happens when people when these people running these machines can get the money? Well, you can imagine we move the opposite direction from the largest amount of people getting the smallest amount of coin to the smallest amount of people getting the largest amount of coin. So basically the factories that create these machines, they're selling them. Wow, we're growing tremendously year over year. What are we selling again, guys? Oh, should we be selling these? Why don't we test them?
Why don't we plug them in?
Why don't we plug them in to test them to see how they work for a few months to make sure they're working? And then that turned into let's stop selling them, and we're not a Bitcoin mining hardware company. We're a Bitcoin transaction payment processing facility.
Right.
And they consolidate and consolidate and consolidate. Now we're down to like a few miners, basically, like the largest ones in the world, and they create all the coins. They kind of informally choose the software that we run, and there's always this worry that they could become more than 51% of the hashing power of the network, and they could really dictate who gets to pay and like can control the network.
Which is why there's alternatives to Bitcoin, which is why you have all these altcoins that are solving some of these problems. Ethereum is a great example in terms of like it's really proof of space, not proof of work, which is a kind of a different way.
Right. Yeah. And so Ethereum, for example, is trying to move into the proof of stake and trying to get in there. And Bram is working on proof of space and time.
Yes.
And lots of interesting projects to kind of move away from this hardware arms race. But the biggest problem that I see to crypto is that we need adoption, we need usage, and it's this amazing thing. So anybody that gets involved gets really excited and has an amazing experience. For the most part, as long as they take it easy and get some good advice, you know, don't take all of your money and dump it into crypto. Take your time, learn, do research. And the problem that I saw is that we just had too many large holders, not enough small holders, and we missed the original vision. And now we probably can never fulfill that original Satoshi vision, which is, you know, everybody
with Bitcoin
gets it.
specifically.
With Bitcoin specifically, but we have a chance to do it with the blockchain technology, and that's the really exciting thing. And that's kind of the dream that I want to carry on with Metal. Is I'm trying to finish what we started. I want everybody to have that 0.003. So we have 26.34 million Metal that we're going to distribute over POP over the next 2 to 20 years, however long it takes. People ask that question, well, what happens when you run out? Well, what happens when we run out is we succeed. You guys all have this new piece of this network, and additionally, we're going to bring in more coins. So we're going to keep doing it. We're going to get above 5%. We're going to bring in more coins, and you're not going to just get Metal. Initially, you're going to get Metal, but eventually, you're going to go to Disney World, and you're going to get Disney coins. You're going to get Coca-Cola coins. You're going to get Virgin coins. Everywhere you shop, and there's going to be crypto. We're going to move
There's
away.
Whopper coins already.
There's Whopper coins already. Burger King has Whopper coins, so you can get Whopper coin. And it's happening, and we're watching it happen. It's very exciting, and I think that's really the really cool thing about all this.
So really quickly, I know you're pressed on time, so I don't want to drag it out too much, but a couple of quick questions. One is I think we should address the kind of cryptocurrency bubble because you know, we're saying a lot of great, exciting things about cryptocurrency, but there is, frankly, a lot of shit out there, and there's a lot of pump and dump crap that they will totally rob you blind.
100%.
So let's talk about that a little bit. And any advice, thoughts? Like, what's your overall viewpoint on what's going on?
So we're kind of we're at like this explosive growth time. It's like the early internet. And like the early internet, a lot of companies came and went, and a lot of bad ideas appeared, but got funded and should not have existed. But there was so much hype and so much excitement that bad ideas it was in a good market to get funded, right? And then it popped, and only a few companies were left behind. Facebook, Google, Apple, like the big guys, right? And that was the emperor wears no clothes moment, where we realized who all the people are that aren't wearing anything, and they had to go away.
Global mobile social.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with crypto right now, we're seeing, there's a lot of these, ICOs, everybody, and this kind of goes back to kind of one of the I guess like the themes of crypto, which is unfortunately one of the negative themes, which is greed. Right? And greed powers, the network with proof of work. But in the case of ICO, everybody wants to get it in an early stage. People saw Bitcoin, they saw Ethereum and said, oh, 30 cents to $400. Oh, a penny to almost $5,000. I want a piece, right? So slick marketers come in and they want to sell something. And in general, I think that this is a very awesome and cool and new paradigm for funding, but you have to you should really exist in the existing frameworks. The blockchain doesn't allow you to completely circumvent regulation.
You can't just break the law just because you're in crypto.
You can't solicit you can't publicly solicit for investments and that kind of thing. That's why the Jobs Act exists. That's why Regulation D exists, the SEC. And so we saw a lot of companies come out and do this. And I would just say this, when it comes to investing into crypto, you want to pick projects that have great founders, just like any investment. Invest in people, find the people that you like, believe in know that you believe in the project, you really like the idea, you genuinely want to use the app, or you genuinely want to use the product, or you can see how it could be a part of your life or people around you. And pick the right founders, pick the good project. And then for crypto, nowadays, I would say, I think that the ICO landscape is changing. So a lot of these ICOs that you see, if you see public ICOs, I would just almost for the most part stay away.
Right.
What you're going to see now is you're going to see accredited offerings for accredited investors that's more in line with traditionally what startups would raise. And they have cryptocurrency integrated because it makes sense for their apps. So anything that doesn't make sense why there's a coin, abort.
Don't have to.
Don't get involved.
Right.
And look for small cap stuff. Look for stuff that has a small cap, because that's how it could be something bigger later on. So when you hear, oh, this company's raising $300 million.
So don't do Bancor.
Yeah, well, I can't really say any
it's
names.
Okay. I'll say Bancor.
Be careful of a monster raise where it's $100 million, because really, where is that market cap going to go to immediately? And you should ultimately be investing in a project. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. In cryptocurrency and in general, in all startups, if you can't make something with a couple $1 million or $1 million, what business do you having 30 million or 300 million or 3 billion? You're guaranteed going to fail if you have some ridiculous amount of money that you have no intent.
It's just a bigger fail. It's
just a much bigger
what was the app? Was
catastrophe.
it Color years ago?
Yeah.
That was like,
Yeah.
we raised
Twinkle
$34 million for nothing.
Yeah.
So,
Twinkle is another business.
Yeah.
So one of the things that really built our confidence in you is that we knew you were already working on it. You had a team, like there was a product there, and then you kind of moved into that world of like
the token was actually not part of the initial product. It was like, oh, there was a realization at some point, like, oh, actually, a token would make this smoother and it would work better.
Yeah,
right.
I have been thinking about it for a while. Thinking about it for some years. When I worked on QuickCoin, my first crypto app in 2014, or it started in 2013, launched in 2014. Then worked on Stellar and worked on Serica, and kind of got this experience of giving people some crypto or letting them experience it, by signing up, and it was really awesome. So we built a business first. We said, hey, let's figure out a way to make money, right? And that was what we
provide
started.
value to people.
Building the payment processor and looking at crypto as this awesome tool to be able to make those transactions, make the cash transaction with the credit or debit card, but also to use as a tool to reward people. So PayPal raised $100 million and gave away almost half of it, $20 at a time, to sign people up. It's sort of like they were giving everybody a little piece of equity, but instead people were taking the equity to buy food or buy a CD or something with it, or do something, right? Because the CDs existed in 1997. And that was really cool, but it was a one-off, but it worked really well. So I love that idea of basically saying, okay, we're going to create the ledger. What's the value of it? The value is all of you guys participating. What is it worth? It's worth what you guys are worth and what you believe you're worth, and that is really cool. And I think it's awesome because it really helped grow our project, get the project off the ground, and has, you know, ultimately our operating budget, our future is dependent upon that, and it's really cool because we're watching it grow as we deliver, you know, more people coming in, and it's very exciting, and we know that stretches out our time to distribute. So as our market cap grows, as the coin grows, the time to distribution grows,
yeah.
and it's just kind of like a positive cycle.
I keep having one more question, but like, can I just say China? Can you just mention something about
Yeah.
China?
Wait, can I quote
Okay.
the person that actually sent the question?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So Benoit Carpent, what's your take on the Bitcoin China situation and impact on the metal valuation?
What's up, Benoit? I just want to say hello. My thoughts are this: every government is going to create regulations. This is what the government does. Governments creates regulations, and if you're doing something really cool in technology, you're going to be at the cusp of regulation. So we know we're in the right place. What's going on in China is basically what's going to happen here in the U.S. And I called it a while ago. I said the SEC is going to come in and start to issue guidance because there is a framework to do this, but it's more it's more mirroring the traditional framework. And so you're seeing the same in China. You have a lot of the government is very interested in really preserving the money inside China, so Chinese yuan stays in China. And so there's very heavy, what they call capital controls, and to avoid capital flight, which is the money leaving China. So there's all kinds of rules around that. Now, you can't also you're not going to be able to do these monster ICO raises without identifying your customer in payments, what we call KYC, or know your customer. Nobody was doing this. We did it at Metal, and we didn't have a public sale because we knew that would be a problem.
Right.
But that nobody's really doing this, and that's a really big problem in China because that's, you know, the Chinese government doesn't want this money coming in and going out, and they don't really know, you know, what's going on. So the same thing we're going to see in the U.S., same thing as in China, is public ICO will go away. Unfortunately, well, actually, probably fortunately, to protect consumers from, you know, projects that don't really have any working product, raising some massive amount of money, and essentially creating a security by taking years, you know, to release it if it ever gets released at all. China is basically saying we're going to have to go through traditional regulation and frameworks, and so a lot of these public ICO coins recently were delisted from Chinese exchanges. Also, I believe that China would like to maybe have more control of a crypto that is the Chinese crypto. I can't say too much exactly what I think that is because I don't want people to wildly speculate. But if there were a crypto that China would want to support, it would be a crypto that would be able to track and trace everywhere you go, and at the flip of a switch, if you left the country with the money, they could just bring it right back or burn it up or whatever.
You know, you haven't said anything, Marshall. No one has any idea what you're talking about,
No one knows
so
what I'm
don't worry
talking
about it.
Yeah, I literally don't know what the hell you're talking about. So
I'll tell you later.
So I think that we're going to see the same thing in the U.S. I think that it's just par for course. It's a great thing. It's really awesome to see because it means that we're going into the future. It means that the government is recognizing and saying this can exist, and we're going to show you how it can exist, and we're going to see just a wealth creation like we've never seen before. And before we start, we're going to go on sale for a couple months. For the next couple months, everything's going to go on sale. And yes, some ERC20, some ICO tokens are going to be delisted because they ran large ICOs and they didn't KYC their users. They don't know who their investors are. Right. But we are going to see a new wave of companies, more responsible companies that that exist in traditional frameworks and kind of knock first at regulators' doors, talk to regulators and say, look, this is what we're doing. Is there any way we can help? Is there any way that we can offer guidance? And slowly the policy forms around these things, just like we saw with like Uber and Lyft and Airbnb. They appear, they do something awesome, they create a niche, and regulation evolves and forms around them. And that's the moment that we're seeing right now. And it may seem heavy-handed in China, but that's China. That's China's style.
Yeah, there you go.
So,
all right. Well, look, you're going to be mad because we kept you longer than I promised anyway. So, please give some advice to founders. It's been a whirlwind for you in the past, I don't know, 8-9 months. Yeah. It's been crazy. Any advice that you have for founders?
Yeah, I would say work your ass off. Know that this is not going to be easy. If it was going to be easy, everybody would do it. And you will hit the moment where you think, oh man, it's just, it's impossible, I can't do it, and push through it. and keep pushing, and know that eventually you are going to hit it, but only through tenacity and working your ass off will you become a true founder.
You were up till 3 in the morning last night, right?
Yes,
Still,
I'm
yeah, so.
unshaven, I look crazy. This is what founder life looks like.
Marshall always looks like that.
That's true. I'm just trying to get an excuse. And also, I'd recommend buy some cryptocurrency.
Any
HODL.
cryptocurrency. We have nothing in particular to recommend.
Yeah, buy some metal, buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, buy the good stuff, buy the buy the cryptos that have a future. And I would definitely say, obviously I'm biased, buy metal.
Right.
But I would say everybody should own at least one metal, at least one Bitcoin. Check it out, do some research, and look into cryptocurrency, because I think that over the next couple of years it's going to be integrated in everything we do. So
awesome.
Do the research.
We're all looking forward to that. I can't.
Yeah, me too.
Let me know when we can go to Halal Guys and buy with metal.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, awesome.
2 final questions.
See, I thought we were final.
Now these are short and final.
Okay.
Where does the name metal come from? That question does not come from this guy. The question comes from Matt from ARC in our 3rd cohort. And then I'll just double them up so you can feel free to spend as much time as you want on these. Please explain #HODL.
Yes. Okay. So metal comes from Carter, is the creator of the name metal. I'm really bad at coming up with startup names. Like, startup names are so hard. Like, you feel like you have...
They were pretty bad.
They were bad.
They can Carter and I could testify. I had to use code words. I know that they were bad. One of our code words is actually the name of a current startup. I'm like, oh, you guys got to change your name. That's a bad name. But we sat in the office for a couple hours, right?
It was a while, yeah. I felt like it was a struggle.
Yeah, and we were coming up with names. We had, what's strong? What would you put your money in? A metal safe. Yeah. Metal. And Carter was like, metal, that's it. And I was like, metal. Yes.
And, I mean, it was all, I remember thinking like, oh, we're like silver, gold, like, we don't want to use those directly, but like metal is like weighty, and it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like some ephemeral cryptocurrency, shit show. Yeah, it sounds like something real. And that's what we wanted it to be.
Exactly, and it feels like it can be a verb. Like, I can metal you, and you can metal me, and you get some metals, and everybody can share in the precious metal.
Although the heavy metal was a counter argument. People I thought we were talking about metal rock.
But it's cool. Like, we got all kinds of heavy metal
got some cool names out of it.
Fans,
Yeah,
and so HODL, so the origins of HODL, this is really funny. So I think it was like 4 years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago, on Bitcoin Talk, the price is crashing, right? And Bitcoin is just dropping like 30-40%. Everybody's freaking out. And this one guy appears, and he's just, it's a drunken rant on Bitcoin Talk. And he says, I don't know about you guys, all you fancy traders with your up and your down and your margins. I'm here. I'm hodling. My girlfriend's at the lesbian bar. I'm here. I'm hodling my cryptocurrency. Screw all you guys. Like, whatever. And everybody read it, and it just became like the funniest thing. Like, we're like, yes, everybody should be hodling. We're all hodling now. Everybody hodl. So that's where it came from. It came from a drunken rant on Bitcoin Talk. And I think it's the funniest thing. And so now, it kind of keeps some humor in it, because, when the price is crashing, it gets pretty serious. And we like to keep it fun, so we tell people to hodl. And realistically, that's kind of the way that you should do it. So hodl strong. When the price is crashing, don't look at it. Go away. Do something else. Unless you invested into some really small altcoin, in which case you might want to take a second look.
Maybe don't hodl.
But if you're in metal or if you're in Bitcoin, just go do something else. Come back to it a year later, and if it is crashing, you have some extra money, that might be a good buy time.
Yeah. Well, I had it. I also heard it. I heard that a reverse engineered acronym into it, right? Someone has
hold on for dear life.
Hold on for dear life.
Which is very appropriate.
Yes. Yeah. So. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Marshall, for coming on. It's been awesome. We kept you longer than I promised, and I apologize. You can whip me later. But yes, that's a separate show.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks so much. We love you. We're super proud of Metal, and go check it out, everyone. And I don't know, what else do we have? Other end of show things we say?
I don't think so. Upvote this, share it, please get it out there. I think everyone wants to know about cryptocurrency. Everyone loves Marshall and Metal. Yes. Everyone buy Metal. Make it happen. Michael, who do we have on next week? Do we know?
Ben and Carter are on next week, so there you go.
Who knows?
Have a good weekend, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Thank you.
Awesome.